Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakur whose prayers were so often sung and meditated upon by our beloved Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. He wrote that in order to understand the loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the land of Vrindavan, we should humble ourselves to take shelter of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Vishaya chatiya khabe sudaha bimana khabe hamaheribo Sri Vrindavan. Thakur Narottam prays, when will that day come when my mind is no longer tormented by the desires for selfish material enjoyment? Only then will I be able to see Vrindavan. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told us, do not try to seek Krishna. Try to serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna is pleased to see us. Jai jathamam prapadyante tam stathaiva pachamyaham. Krishna reveals himself according to the sincerity, the purity of our surrender. Srila Prabhupada writes that you cannot actually enter Vrindavan simply by purchasing an airline ticket or a train ticket or a rickshaw ticket. But following in the footsteps of Akrura, how he entered Vrindavan in a completely humble state of mind, with his mind totally fixed in prayer on remembering the beautiful names, pastimes, and qualities of Krishna, begging for mercy. Akrura, by a power beyond his own, he was indirectly associating with Kamsa, and even doing the will of Kamsa. Akrura was ashamed of that. But at the same time, he knew that his real purpose was to somehow or other facilitate the Lord's will. And he believed that Krishna and Balaram would understand this. And while begging for forgiveness, begging for shelter, he was absorbed in crying out for mercy. And therefore Vrindavan was revealed to him. If anybody could just come to Vrindavan and see the spiritual world, kalpavriksha trees, chintamani dust on the ground, every cow is a kamadhenu, every monkey is a personal associate of Krishna. Then what would make Vrindavan different than so many material places? The fact that we can't see Krishna so well here. It shows us that what Krishna tells us in the scriptures is true. We have to have this lolyam, this eagerness, this greed to please Krishna. And we please Krishna by taking shelter through our service. And that is why we have come here. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada and the association of so many devotees, to realize how fallen we really are, how so far away we have become. And the farther we think we are, the more we should yearn, the more we should strive to become Krishna conscious. Srimad Bhagavatam is the story of Krishna and his devotees. In most of the primary stories, we read about how the devotees were challenged with such insurmountable difficulties. But they never gave up their faith. They never gave up their hope. The more difficult the challenge, the deeper they surrendered. And how Krishna revealed himself in the most incredible ways to each of these devotees. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his lesson was that the crest jewel of all Vedic literatures is the Srimad Bhagavatam. The culmination of the Holy Scripture is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. The highest summit of the pastimes of Vrindavan is Krishna's loving relations with gopis. And the supermost, highest revelation is the love of Radha and Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, who's come to not only experience, but to share the love of Radha with the whole world. And Lord Chaitanya taught us, bhakti means to serve. We cannot see Krishna and we cannot see Vrindavan if we come like tourists with our cameras. And today it's become so out of control. Everyone has these cameras on their cellular phones. You can take 10 million photos, but you will not see Vrindavan. It is when Krishna reveals himself, when Sri Vrindavan reveals herself to us through the sincerity of our devotion. Do not try to see Vrindavan, but try to serve Krishna. Try to serve Srila Prabhupada, the Vaishnavas, the holy name, in such a way that Vrindavan reveals herself to us. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking initiation in Gaya from Ishwarapuri, in the middle of the night, in the ecstasy of prema, without telling anything to anyone, he ran into the forest toward Vrindavan. Nothing was going to stop him. But as he was rushing and rushing in separation, he was now 24 years old. And he was feeling that he had wasted his whole life. And now, by the mercy of his guru, in his lila, his love for Krishna was blazing like an uncontrollable fire. And his ultimate goal was to renounce everything and to go to Vrindavan. But a voice, the voice of the Devas, spoke from the sky. My Lord, you have descended into this world to manifest the Harinam Sankirtan movement. You have come to this world to reveal the treasures of the prema of Vrindavan. So go back to Navadvip, and you could come to Vrindavan some other time. Ultimately, the Lord was more concerned with the conditioned souls. He was more concerned with going to Navadvip to meet people like Jagai and Madhai than to go to Vrindavan. That is his munificence. And for about 6 years, he established Nam Sankirtan and revealed the highest ecstasies of spiritual love in Navadvip. Then took sannyas in Katwa. And after receiving his spiritual name, his danda, the cloth of a sannyasi, he cried out for everyone surrounding him to hear, I will go to Vrindavan. Keshava Bharati Maharaj, his sannyas guru, said, I am going with you. And everyone in the whole of Katwa was going with him. who could give up his association. And after some time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he instructed everyone to return to Kanakanagar, and with just his closest associates, he was going to Vrindavan. But Nityananda Prabhu understood his heart of hearts. Ultimately, his love for his devotees was paramount. They were dying in separation. So Nityananda Prabhu, by his own transcendental ways, redirected Lord Chaitanya to Shantipur, where the devotees of Navadvip, headed by Sachi Mata, came to meet Lord Gauranga. Sachi Devi was cooking wonderful prasad for her son every day. He would sit on her lap and she would embrace him and cry on him. If you go to Vrindavan, I will never see you again. But the same Krishna who lives in Vrindavan is living in Puri as Lord Jagannath. Please go there. Then I will regularly hear your pastimes. To please his beloved mother and the devotees, he settled in Puri. Yes, he did visit Vrindavan. He came here, wandered through the 12 forests for 2 months. But then returned to Puri for his mission. And he told Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami that what I want to do to establish in Vrindavan, I will do through you. By my mother's will, I will reside in Puri. And he sent them to Vrindavan. To understand the principal deities established by the Goswamis of Vrindavan is what we believe is the most effective way of actually entering into the mood of Vrindavan. It is written in our Vaishnava scriptures that after Yudhisthira Maharaj heard that Krishna had disappeared from this world, he personally, with his 4 brothers, retired and went to the Himalayas and coronated Parikshit Maharaj, the son of Uttara and Abhimanyu, as the king, and established Vajranabha, who was the great-grandson of Krishna, as the king of Brajadham. Vajranabha, he understood that after Krishna's disappearance, so many of the holy places where he performed his leelas were forgotten. He sat on the bank of the Yamuna under a kalpabriksha tree, and there he prayed he prayed to Lord Krishna to reveal to him his eternal abode. And it was there that Krishna revealed his eternal transcendental pastimes in the land of Vrindavan. So he excavated many of those places and wanted to establish particular deities in the most important parts of Vrindavan. He called for Vishwakarma, who's the architect of the Devas, to carve those deities. The first deity that was carved was Madan Mohan. And he called Uttara, who had personally seen Krishna with her own eyes. And she said, his feet and from his waist down perfectly reveals Krishna. Of course, every part of him was, but that was the special feature of Madan. He carved Vishwakarma Radha Govinda Dev, and Uttara saw that his beautiful smiling face perfectly reveals Krishna. And when he carved Sri Gopinath, how he is playing his flute is perfectly revealing Krishna. Many other deities also were established by Vrajanath. But over the millenniums, approximately 4,500 years, most all of them were lost. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here, there was the Adi Keshava temple, or the Keshava temple in Mathura. And here in Vrindavan, it was a beautiful, beautiful forest. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally was rediscovering various holy places. On his way back from Vrindavan, he met with Sri Rupa Goswami and then Sanatana Goswami. A little background. From a Saraswat Brahmin family in Karnataka, the forefathers of Rupa and Sanatana were living as great Brahmin kings, but due to certain circumstances, they settled in Bengal, for some time in Orissa. There were 3 sons of Kumar Dev that were most exalted: Rupa, Sanatana, and Sri Vallabha. It is described that Sanatana Goswami, he once had a dream that a Brahmin came to him and gave him the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sanatana Goswami in that dream became so deeply attached to the scripture. When he woke up, he was longing, yearning for Srimad Bhagavatam. In those days, it wasn't so easy to get Srimad Bhagavatam. There were no printing presses. Now you go to so many bookstalls, or you order it online, or you just, whether you like it or not, a devotee will be at the airport waiting to give it to you. But at that time, if you wanted a Srimad Bhagavatam, you had to find a scribe who could find an original copy and hand copy that for you. It's very rare, very difficult. The next morning, the same Brahmin who appeared in the dream appeared to Sanatana Goswami and gave him Srimad Bhagavatam. It became his life and his soul, his everything. Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis were such loving, gentle, kind Vaishnavas, so deeply learned that everybody loved them. So the Mughal king of Bengal at the time, the Nawab Hussain Shah, somehow or other induced them to become his chief ministers, because he would have the support of the vast majority, which was the Hindu community, if Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were with him. And they did so well that the king literally accepted them as his own brothers and divided his wealth with them. He built them magnificent palaces, gave them huge areas of land, excavated lakes for them, gave them mass treasuries of wealth. But Rup Sanatan and Sri Ballava, they were not attached to anything. What they did is they established a temple of Madan Mohan. And in separation from Vrindavan, they created Vrindavan gardens, replicas of Radha-Kund, Shama-Kund, and had little places where they would meditate on Krishna's Leela. And meanwhile, as the king was out conquering other nations, they were practically taking care of the whole kingdom and all the people. Sanatana Goswami had a dream of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared to him. And Sanatana Goswami understood that he is the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. And when he told about this to Rupa Goswami absolutely agreed that somehow or other we have to escape this government post to serve him. Meanwhile, Kumar Dev, their father, he was doing special pujas constantly to liberate his children from the mass wealth and power that they had so that they could worship Krishna directly as their life and soul. The mother of Rupa and Sanatan and Sri Vallabha told her sons, why don't you write letter to Lord Chaitanya and ask him how you can escape? They wrote letter after letter, but never got any answer. Finally, they got an answer. It was a cryptic answer, but they understood it perfectly. He wrote, if a wife has a lover other than her husband, she serves her husband very nicely, but is always meditating on her lover. Now, this does not mean the literal idea, because Lord Chaitanya was talking about the transcendental love of the gopis. And they understood. We have to perform our duties so nicely, but constantly meditate on Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya said, just wait for Krishna's mercy to deliver you. So the first attempt of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Vrindavan, he went an indirect route to Ramakeli, where Rupa and Sanatan were living. At that time, they were honored by the Nawab Hussain Shah with the very distinguished titles of the government of Sakar Malik and Dabir Khas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Ramakeli according to Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat with hundreds and thousands of people doing Harinam Kirtan. Now this was very controversial because the king outlawed any public demonstration of any religion beyond his own. And here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing right in the streets where the king was residing. And the beauty of his dance and the tumultuous sound of the holy names resounding in all directions soon attracted millions of people. And one police officer went to the Nawab Hussain Shah and said, I cannot explain to you what I have just seen. There is this sannyasi. He's very young. He's beautiful. I've never seen anyone like him. His complexion is like molten gold, resplendent, effulgent. His eyes are like beautiful lotus petals that extend almost to his ears. And those eyes are shedding rivers of tears, pouring. He has long arms that are extending lower than his knees. His nose like a beautiful sesame flower. As he's dancing and loudly calling out, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, there are millions of people completely intoxicated, surrendering their lives, their body, their minds, their words, their everything to do anything he says. Everyone is weeping in the ecstasy of love as he's chanting Krishna's names. His body, it is soft like fresh butter, but yet he leaps into the air and he falls to the ground and he breaks stones, but still he's not injured. His hairs are standing on end. His limbs are trembling. He's inundating the whole of Ramakeli in some sort of hypnotic trance of ecstatic love of God. I have seen so many saints and Babas and Swamis and Mullahs and everybody else coming here, but I have never seen anyone with such love and such influence on everyone as him. Nawab Hussain Shah called for Keshava Khan, who was one of his ministers. Keshava Khan was a devotee. He was asked by the king, do you know about this Swami that has come to our town? And he was thinking, if I tell him the truth about Lord Chaitanya, he may become envious and be violent. He said, it's all just exaggeration. He's just a common old sannyasi, just like so many others. He has a few disciples, and he's begging from house to house. Don't take him seriously. Nawab Hussain Shah said, why are you talking like this? You are asking me not to take him seriously? I pay people huge amounts of money to do what I say, and still they don't do what I say. This sannyasi, he doesn't pay anything to anyone, and he has millions and millions of people who are surrendering their lives to him totally. And I heard about his ecstatic loving trance. He's giving love of God everywhere. Who the Holy Quran calls Allah, who the Vedas call Krishna, Rama, that same supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, has come to my kingdom to distribute love of God to everyone, and you're calling him an ordinary beggar? This is an offense. I declare on this day, let there be a law. Let this Swami, Sri Chaitanya, let him preach anywhere, in any way he wants. And let him induce everyone and anyone he desires to loudly chant the holy name. And if anyone tries to disturb him, I will punish or even kill that person. Declare this. Keshava Khan offered his obeisances. And then Nawab Hussain Shah called Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik and asked, do you know who this sannyasi is? And Rupan Sanatan said that he is the proprietor of everything that exists. He's the supreme Lord of all lords. Whatever you have is only by his mercy. You are the king. The king is supposed to be the representative of God. So therefore, why are you asking us? You should know these things. And Nawab Hussain Shah said, yes, I understand that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. But they sent a message because they understood that he's heard nice things about Lord Chaitanya, but if he hears something not nice, his history is, the Nawab Hussain Shah was so powerful and so cruel, and his mind was so unsteady they tried to send a message to Lord Chaitanya to leave Ramakeli. But he was in the middle of kirtan. And when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing Nam Sankirtan, he was totally absorbed. Radha Bhavaduti Subalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. With the complexion and the love of Sri Radha, he was crying out the holy names. And as he was dancing and as he was singing, with millions of people around him, tumultuously crying out Krishna's names, some Brahmins were there to try to give him a message. They waited hours. They went to Lord Chaitanya's personal associates and said, it's very dangerous. This king is envious. Lord Chaitanya should stop the kirtan and leave. And the associates were waiting. First the messengers, they waited for about a day. But Lord Chaitanya, he wouldn't talk to people in kirtan. Nothing could distract his attention for even a moment from the holy names. So finally they just told some associates of Lord Chaitanya, give him this message, this is an emergency. And several days went by and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting, chanting, and chanting. Finally, Lord Chaitanya could sense that there were some people in anxiety. So he stopped the kirtan and he called out with great compassion and emotion that I have descended into this world to flood people's hearts with the holy names of Krishna and with love for Krishna. Why should anyone be afraid?